My name is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo, the infamous son-in-law from The Godfather. I'm now known as the Hollywood Godfather, and this is my story.
Before all of the wins in my portfolio, I was a little boy diagnosed with polio. Experimenting with cures, I tried every one. Felt everything in my right, but my left was numb. Walking with a limp, like will I ever run? Once again, or is this it? Am I forever done? Living in the hospital was never fun. Some people were cool, but not everyone.
Welcome, everybody. It's time for another Hollywood Godfather podcast, and I'm so excited because our new host, which you've already heard of 3 or 4 shows, this show is going to the moon now, fortunately. Let's talk about Jeannie Raymond first, our co-host.
Hello, everyone. We're so excited you're here, and we are so excited to have a new co-host with us, bringing us a lot of energy and excitement. So, Mike DeStasio, welcome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me back. This is like my second or third show where we're killing it now on social media.
Well, you're not going nowhere right now, so don't make any plans.
Right.
So everybody watching and listening, please do us a favor and just go to the Hollywood Godfather podcast on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching now, subscribe, hit that button. This is what the young kids do, so I figure I must do it too. Say it too, you know. It's
Why
not? So thank you for.
That's exactly right.
You're still doing your show too, aren't you? Yet?
Yeah. Actually, go to Real Talk with the Hollywood Kid, REEL. There's some interviews on there. Even I'm like, how the hell did I get this guy? You know, so there's some great interviews. It's all intertwined what we do here, guys. It's all the nostalgia, all the old Hollywood stuff. I like to think that I'm like a self-taught historian, I guess, because I read books and all that crap. But yeah, so go to Real Talk with the Hollywood Kid. Subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your enemies. I'm sure they'll want to know. And that's what we do. So we incorporate a lot of what I did on that channel on this channel. So we're going to have the same type of guests. Murder mysteries, those are really big. Those are really big for the crime. They love it.
Oh, no, I know. And it's interesting. Our audience should know. We couldn't make this up. The Hollywood Kid meets the Hollywood Godfather. But the reason you got that name is because of the nostalgia and what you knew of the film business.
Yeah.
You picked up the handle by your friends, just gave you the nickname.
Just give me the nickname, playing poker. Mike, what's the name of that movie there? What the hell's the name of that? Oh my God, what the hell? You know, and I'd be right there. That's freaking so-and-so and Bogart and, you know, from here to eternity.
That's positive synergy. And that's why we're together now.
That's amazing. It's amazing how things happen.
Mike, I keep telling Gianni I'm like the Hollywood Kid, the Hollywood Godfather. I'm a Hollywood wannabe.
You're the Hollywood Queen.
You could be anything you want to
I'm
be.
the queen of this show. Is that lack of options? But I'm so happy you're here, and I have to tell you, I have been a true crime junkie well before it got popular. I'll tell you that much right now. One of my favorite things is I've always got such an investigative mind, and I used to watch the Rockford Files.
Oh my God.
And talk about everything being intertwined together. Gianni, I went back and watched them all after I started listening to this podcast. And there's Gianni Russo on how many shows did you do?
I did 23 Rockford Files.
Wow. Oh my God.
That is my nickname right there. I'll tell you right now, Gianni. My friend and I, back when she was trying to check on her husband back in 20 years ago, my ex-husband, I asked him where he had been, and he finally said, "You figure it out, Jeannie Rockford." So that is my nickname.
Oh, wow. I never got that. Jeannie Rockford. I like that.
My daughter bought me the t-shirt, says Rockford Investigations on the front of it this year for my birthday. I was so happy.
Oh,
now I have to binge on the Rockford Files now to see Gianni.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a little Gianni Russo.
I did 200 hours of television. I can't believe that.
Stuart Margolin. Where you work with Stuart Margolin, right? Stuart Margolin?
Yeah.
I had him on the show. He just passed away too. Good guy.
Yeah.
You know, Gianni, going back and looking at your IMDb, when I first started listening to this podcast, I looked at Gianni's IMDb, or did I say it right?
Well,
It-
most audiences are not as intellectual as you. Can you let our audience know what IMGB means?
I am deep. Okay.
IMDb, sorry, I knew I was saying it wrong. Tell us, because I know you're very into that.
You want me to tell you? It's the
Yes,
International Movie Database.
there we go.
Every movie and television show ever made is on there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Great resource. Great resource.
I fortunately have 46 movies and 200 hours of television.
It's amazing, Gianni, because when I Googled you, I looked you up, of course I did, and I start looking through the list of what Gianni's done, and I'm like, I've seen Seabiscuit, I've seen this, I've seen that, Rockford Files. I mean, I grew up watching Jim Rockford, so it's amazing to go through and see all the things you've done. Now I have to go back and try and spot you in these movies. I'm like, what?
Oh.
Figure out where you are.
No, it's all good. Well, this is one of my favorite shows, Mike, you've never done with us. I love the mailbag because it gives us an opportunity.
I hate the mailbag. I work for the post office.
Oh, well, no. Well,
Thank
you
for
you
your
would
service.
then, but for us, it gives us an opportunity to hear what our audiences are thinking, what they want to see or hear on the show, and some of their opinions. And we've got a lot of positive feedback, and that's why we do the mailbag.
Yeah, and Johnny, just so I can recap, I've been doing a lot of social media with their mailbag. So again, we want to get the audience involved in the show because you guys are part of the show. You watch every week, you comments on YouTube and everywhere. So just come with us and just start questioning anything. And Johnny is he's like a computer. He knows everything. So if you're an old Hollywood
I only know what I know, but it's a lot.
yeah, it's a lot. It's very vast. It's very vast. So if you guys want to get involved with the show, drop us a question at godfatherpodcast.com. Subscribe. So that's it, Johnny.
Perfect.
Take it
All right,
away.
let's get into the mailbag. Jeannie, will you be so kind?
I sure will. So the first question is for Mike.
Uh-oh.
Mike, it was from Pat. Okay, not Pat. She is asking, what has been the biggest surprise in any of the cases you have covered?
The cases. I'm sorry. Did you say cases?
In the cases as far as the Hollywood murders.
It just you start going down a rabbit hole when you get an expert on, and it's like you'd even scratch the surface. And these guys are telling you stuff like the Black Dahlia murder. I mean, the reporter Johnny, you might know this when Elizabeth Short was murdered, she was bisected. So her torso was cut in half. And only a doctor could perform that kind of cut. You know what I mean? Nobody, a serial killer would just kill her.
That was the first giveaway.
Right. But back then, the reporters would listen to the police scanners. They would show up on the murder scenes before the cops got there. It's amazing. But there's so many things that you learn. Natalie Wood, we did it. Johnny, I'm sure you're very well adverse on Natalie Wood and what happened to her. I mean, a lot of people have theories about what happened.
Well, I have a good theory, and I'm not too happy about it. Rob got away with it, basically.
Pretty much. I mean, but I do think it was an accident. I don't think he meant to do it. I think he might.
I think it
I
was.
don't think he meant to kill
I
her.
think he pushed her, and
Right. Oh crap! What do we do now? He just freaked out, drunk.
and then both of them helped cover it up.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
they had to anyway.
I think Christopher Walken knows something.
Oh,
Well, of course, he was there. Hello.
He said he was on the boat sleeping. Yeah, sleeping your ass. Come on.
Well, I
Right.
think he was sleeping up until she screamed and hit her head.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but there's so many things you learn about. What I said, Black Dahlia. There's so many. One of my famous ones that I really, really love. It's not a murder. It's the Brinks heist. The Brinks robbery.
Hello. Yeah.
January 17th, I believe, 1950. Now I'm from Boston, so they're always I've been by there 3 million times. The building itself, it's still standing. But that was an amazing 2 weeks, Jeannie, before the statute of limitations would expire, so they can keep all the money. A guy named Specs O'Keefe ratted. Imagine that. He was in jail, and 2 weeks. He needed money for some surgery for his family member, and they said, yeah, we'll give it to you. And they never gave it to him. They never gave him the money. And he said, all right, and the FBI got involved and they ratted. And he ratted. He ended up becoming Cary Grant's limo driver in LA.
Oh, that's wild.
Okay? He was in the witness protection, the first guy to ever be in the witness protection program. All right, guys, I took up half the show. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Do we have a mailbag?
Yes, we do. All
That was
right.
Pat. Well, that was Pat's answer.
But tell her to
No,
go on YouTube channel. Subscribe to Real Talk with the Hollywood Kid. There's a ton
That's
of
exactly right. There's so many great stories on there. And I love that we're going to be able to talk about some of those investigations that you've done and kind of incorporate that into this show, because it's going to give us a lot to talk about. And amazingly enough, Gianni knows someone in every conversation that seems to come along. So I think that's going to be fun.
I'm just
Well, not all the murders, but you know
Please.
so many people. It makes
there's no statutes on murders, please.
no. I don't mean you were knew
That's
about the
very true.
murders.
I'm not going to
mistaken you,
self-incriminate myself, please.
No, I don't mean that. I just mean people in that era and those who was running around with who. So I think it's amazing. So this one starts out, wow, so glad to hear the Hollywood Kid has arrived. It says, hello, sometimes you go on enjoying something and somebody decides to make a change and improve upon it. Most of the time it fails. And you think of the old and overused saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, then there is great news. You have the Hollywood Kid join your show. I love this guy's work, and I have enjoyed all of the interviews and backstories of movies and the famous actors, movies, and television shows that made me think back to fun and happy times with friends and family while watching great entertainment. Great just became greater. I can't wait to check it out. It's as exciting as the anticipation of a new season airing of all of your all-time favorite shows. I know all of your followers will enjoy and have so much fun with Mike along for the ride. I wish you all great success.
And who is this lady so we could thank her?
This gentleman is Rob Holden. So I guess there's no question there, but he obviously is very happy that you've joined the show, Mike, and so are we.
What was the name, Jeannie? Sorry.
I'm sorry, Rob Holden.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Rob. Wow, it's very
Yeah,
fun.
he even contacted me, this guy. He's a nice guy, obviously. You must be a big fan. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. I'm like you guys. I put a lot of passion into it. I put a lot of work into it. And again, there is there's a genre for this. This is very big. It's coming back little by little, and so hopefully we can keep the ball rolling with the show.
Oh, we will. Moving right along.
Moving along, this is from another Mike Armstrong, and this is for Gianni. It says, Gianni, there is a famous picture of Al Pacino, actor Al Lettieri. Is that
Al Lettieri.
Al Lettieri. Hey, I'm learning these Italian names.
He played Sollozzo in the movie.
That's exactly what he said. Who played Sollozzo in The Godfather, and Pasquale Eboli. Help me. What's that name?
No, Eboli.
Eboli
was a real mob guy in New Jersey. He was, in fact, he was Al Lettieri's brother-in-law. His sister married the guy. And when they were doing research, Pacino, he took him to meet Eboli at his house. And fortunately, not soon after we finished The Godfather, they kidnapped him and killed him in real life.
Well, let me tell you what it says. Tell me how to say his name again. Eboli?
Eboli.
We're going to have to put it in phonics until I learn all these Italian names. It says, do you know anything about why Pacino was hanging out with them and were both brothers murdered?
Yes.
Yes. No hesitation.
But I don't know who. I know they were.
Wow.
When Pacino was doing research, I knew Al Lettieri for a while. And when they brought him on, he lived in New Jersey, and that's where his sister was married to Eboli. So they brought Pacino over for dinner, to really talk to a character that Michael's about to play in the movie. You got a lot of knowledge from him.
That's
If they
amazing.
wanted me in that picture, I wouldn't be in it. Because I knew that the faith that Emily was having problems with some people, and I don't want to be around.
Oh my gosh. Well, that
Brother
I love that answer. Yes.
Yes.
and the brother, Gianni, and the brother.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, both murdered.
They
Wow.
both had to go. Yeah.
They had to go. What choice did they leave them?
Hey,
All
that's
right.
the club they joined, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, I heard you talk about it was just the way of life. It was just that was their business. The police ran their business, and that's just the way business was run. So, all right, this question is for Mike. I've been a big fan of your show. I used to stream it when you were on the radio. I'm so happy that you're on this podcast now. For people in Gianni's audience, Mike has some great insight to the days when Hollywood made great movies. Here's the question, and this is from Jack in Detroit. Mike, I really enjoyed hearing about the show you did on famous Hollywood murder mysteries. What was one that really fascinated you? And I really hope your new show is going to do shows on them. There's so many. Jack from Detroit.
Yeah, there's so many. Again, go to Real Talk with the Hollywood Kid on YouTube. Subscribe. Geez. I did a show on, we talked about earlier, Kitty Genovese. Jeannie, we talked
Oh
about.
yeah.
She was just a typical, working class girl doing her thing, working a bar one night. And she went home with a little red Fiat. And she was assaulted and screaming for help. And supposedly, if you do a deep dive on it, they said there was 38 people that witnessed this. And one gentleman actually saw her getting assaulted in the hallway. He came out of the door and he went back inside. And
Wow.
so nobody saw nothing, again, I didn't see nothing, blah, 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 blah. But that's not, if you do a deep dive, that's not what really happened. It's not what really happened. You do a deep dive on it, but she was murdered. It's just a horrible story. And again, like Jeannie said it last week, the 911 system came about because of that murder. It was a very famous murder. And again, just go listen to it on Real Talk with the Hollywood Kid. It's sad. It's an awful story because he came back twice. The second time he came back, he left because it was a commotion. And then he came back and finished her off.
Oh
real,
wow.
real dirtbag. You get out, he was in jail and he escaped. Of course, he lived a long life, of course, but real dirtbag. I mean,
You know the fun. Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry, good.
I was just going to say the fun part about having getting connected with you is you hear some of these stories and we just go with kind of what you've heard, and then the nice part about having you join us is now we're going to hear the deep dive into them and maybe learn some stuff we didn't know as we go. So I hope everyone does join that and do join our podcast. Be sure and hit the follow button. Leave us a great review if you're liking this new stuff so we can start moving our way up the charts. We're looking forward to that with some new.
There's also the George Reeves murder was one of the fascinating stories. That's my highest viewed show. It's got over close to 150,000 views. It's amazing. What I do is I bring experts on. I mean, I just read, but these guys really go deep. And if you do a deep dive on the George Reeves murder, it's amazing. Amazing. But yeah, just go check it out on Real Talk with the Hollywood Kid. And yeah, that's it.
All right.
Moving along.
So I have one. This is for you, Gianni. And Joey on Mulberry Street wants to know, what do you think of all these made men talking about the family business?
Oh, you mean on podcasts?
On podcasts, that's right. There's so many new podcasts coming out talking about things that you just kind of didn't talk about back in the day.
Well, I still don't talk about it. And,
Right.
I knew we would get a mailbag question about this. And I've been thinking about what would I say. And I myself have been scanning the web. There's about 12 really made guys that took an oath. They even talk about taking the oath.
Oh, wow.
And that's something you should never talk about, number one. But when they describing the oath they took, really tells you the character that these people are. Because the oath, as I know it, and now that they've exploited it everywhere in the world, when you take that oath, you give up your mother and your father, your wife, your children, and they are the family that comes first. Now, why in the world would anybody do that if they're sane?
Right.
And then there's one guy boasting that he made $10 million a week for so long and this and that. I'm wondering, why are they doing podcasts? Why are they exploiting themselves? There's no statutes on murder. Another
Right.
guy is admitting to 23 murders. Yes, he made a deal on it. But how about the people that you killed? Don't you think their relatives may come after you? So I don't understand. And I mean, it's blowing my mind because I in my life I met people, and it was a quiet society.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to Sicily an awful lot. I have business there. All I could suggest to these guys, so I think 12 or so, don't ever, ever take a vacation in Sicily. You are not coming back. They are pissed about this. They're talking
I'll
about
bet.
this. It's like, it's, I mean, I could see Chaz Palminteri talking about a movie that he made. This is not a movie.
Right.
This is real people. And I don't understand that. I mean, are they that bored with their lives? They're doing podcasts.
You know, Gianni, it's something I've always noticed. I mean, from when I very first started listening to the podcast, is that you were not a made man, but you
never would want to
respect
be.
your respect for your past and for what you were involved in, and you've never lost that sense of respect for that, and it's
Well, that was
just
all Costello. Costello protected me, and he had a reason for it because he didn't want me in that and getting that attention, and that's why he gave me the name he uses, the Kid. Mike Hughes, the Kid. And I said, "What about why the Kid?" He said, "Understand why most of us in this world have a nickname." I said, "I always wonder about that." He's because there's no way they can look you up. They could have a wiretap. Who's the Kid? How are they going to find out who the Kid? Who's this? I want this handled, he called it, for you to keep you clean. You will never be in this world. Not if have my say. And he was so right, man. That's so right. But I mean, again, Joe, thank you for asking the question. I knew it was coming, and I happen to know who this guy is from Mulberry. He's a good friend of mine. But
Best restaurant on Mulberry Street. Go ahead, Johnny.
yeah.
The best place. What's the best restaurant on
Oh,
Mulberry?
I'm still faithful to Frankie C. and Lamella Restaurant. I've been there forever, and the family's a very well respected family. They're all gone now, but I still go there. If I go down, I don't go down much anymore.
What Angelo? That's still there? Is Angelo still there? Angelo?
Angela's is just reopening. They had a big fire,
Oh, wow.
and then they didn't open because of COVID. My understanding, it's opening.
Okay.
It's funny you should mention Angelo's. I went to Angelo's one afternoon when I was supposed to be on the dais at Columbus Circle, and Tommy Bellotti, who passed in Sparks, he got killed with Paul Castellano, called me up that morning, and he said, "You going to that rally?" It was
Wow.
the Italian Anti-Defamation League. It was June 28, 1981. We were just filming The Godfather.
Wow.
And Joe Colombo got me the part in the movie. And he said, "You can't go." Fortunately, I came up with a great excuse, told Barry Schlotnick, who passed it on to them, because they were looking for me. Because when they looked at the crime scene, on the dais, there was a seat empty, and there was a sign on it that said Johnny Russo. It was like a death wish on me. And I said, but I was sitting in Angelo's when it
Wow.
came to the radio
Wow.
that Joe Colombo was just shot. He was still alive. He lived for 5 years in a coma.
Yeah, right, correct.
They shot him 6 times. He lived in a coma. And unfortunately, but it's funny you should bring up Angelo. My God, that's
Wow.
insane.
I want to
But-
ask, I want to get one question. I've heard this, I've never heard this question even asked. You mentioned Paul Costello. He was the boss.
Paul Castellano.
I'm sorry, Paul Castellano, sorry. How did he become a boss? Who appointed him?
First of all, he was a big earner,
Okay,
and he was the brother-in-law to Carlo Gambino.
okay.
And he opened, I mean, big business. And that's why they got shot, because a young man who was being groomed by O'Neill Del Croco, his name was John Gotti. And when they passed him up for this rat that he was, Paul Castellano, they set him up. And Frankie Boy DeChico set the meeting at Sparks and one-way street going west. They had it all knocked off. The United Nations was in. So they had 6 shooters dressed like Russians with them hats and all that. They all were shooters. They all shot. They all went a different way. So when they asked us, who'd you see? They saw 6 Russians.
Going different ways.
Amazing, amazing. I never knew why he became the boss. I knew he's the boss, but I never know how
Oh, he
he
was a
got.
big earner, a major earner.
Okay.
They now put earners in because of that. You know, it was not the old ceremony.
You
Yeah.
got to work your way up the chain. You got to clip
Right.
somebody, you know.
If
Okay.
you're making big money, you're in.
All right.
Moving
Wow.
on.
All right, you want to do a quick little moneymaker?
Oh yeah, please. On this, I'm really interested. Not because I'm so prejudiced being Italian, but I've done the Comic Cons. I did every con there is. Now they have the Pisano Con.
Wow.
It's the first time ever been done. This young group of people got in touch with me. It's April 13th and 14th at the Doubletree Hilton in Fairview, New Jersey. I'll be there. In fact, I got so involved in this, I'm one of the ambassadors of the Pisano Con, which I think is going to be a fun thing. And try to get there. It's 2 days. It's a Saturday and Sunday in New Jersey. All right, let's go back to our interesting mailbag, please.
All right. So this is a question from Janica, and she is asking, do you know or have you heard of Georgia Durante? She was a race car driver and a model.
I know Jimmy Durante. Who's
Okay.
She's
Georgia?
married to a Joe, and she's got a new book out. I did see that.
Is that his
Anybody
sister?
heard of her?
No. And what's the book about? Female
She-
race car drivers?
No, she was married into the mob. They said she was the Kodak girl, and then ran. She was a Hollywood stunt driver, and now an author. I'll look for the name of what her book is, but she was a will woman, and it's The Company She Keeps by Georgia Durante, and was married to I can't think what his name was. I thought for sure you would know her when I read that.
Nowhere. Well, she's probably
Yeah.
different times. But how old is she?
Oh, I don't know, but she's beautiful. She was a model, and I did
Let me
hear
ask you a
her.
question. You hear what you just said? She was beautiful. Do you think I ever went out with ugly ladies?
No, I didn't think you dated her. I
But
wasn't
mean,
knowing that you dated her, but I knew
that's like 1,000 people I met.
I did hear her on a podcast the other day, and she was talking about I think she drove for somebody in the mob. I'll have to look it up.
That's
Exactly
bull.
what.
That is absolute bull. And
Yeah.
I'll say it if she was on the. No woman is going to be driving for a mob boss. Forget about it.
All right. Well, I
Dismiss
always
that.
wondered.
Moving on.
Next.
Everybody's using our platform to exploit things. I love it.
Yeah, it could be. Let's see. I think we are down to the bottom of our questions. Mike, did you have anything?
I got a question for Gianni.
All
Yeah.
right.
So for our audience out there, we talked about Cal Naver a couple weeks ago. Cal Naver, correct me if I'm wrong. Some of it was in California and some of it was in Nevada. Is that what-
Exactly. That's
Okay.
why they called it
Right. Okay.
Cal Neva. The
So-
reason for that was you can go in on the California side and be on the property and nobody knew it. See, if you were in the black book, like a lot of guys were, you can go there and stay in the hotel on the California side. If you're on the Nevada side, you have to register as soon as you get there, or you'll go to jail.
Wow.
So this was able to be run, and as that last weekend I was there and never would go back. I was there the last weekend of July in 1962, and that picture is coming out on my tour. If anybody goes to my show, I'm releasing that picture this year for a lot of reasons, and the main reason is that this year Netflix came out with Blondie, which was a mini series about Marilyn Monroe. And finally, they told the truth that Bobby Kennedy was in her apartment for 6 hours before they called the EMT. I put it in my book years ago.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
Sam Giancana, which is another interesting thing why these pictures are so valuable. Sam Giancana had the only camera, and he was taking the pictures. They wanted to make sure they didn't get in the wrong hands. They invited Joe Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy to Cal Neva that weekend in 62 to set him up because he was having an affair with Marilyn. John Kennedy, who she did have an affair with, said, I can't see you for 2 years because I'm a Catholic boy. And after 2 years and I'm established as the president, I will leave my wife. That's how naive Marilyn was. So Bobby was supposed to take care of her. And anybody that knows Marilyn Monroe, and so many of my friends did. I mean, we talked about her so many times between Tony Curtis, Marlon Brando, Sinatra. She gave of herself literally, because that's all she thought. She had such a low esteem. I was always mad at Sinatra and Tony Curtis. Why did you, take advantage of her? They all said she's Marilyn Monroe, but she's my friend. I had a different relationship when I was a friend, and we both needed a hug, and the hug ran into something else, and that was it. But why this is so important, Sinatra was trying to convince her that they had her bedroom set up at Cal Neva with cameras, and they wanted her to have an affair with Bobby one more time so they could blackmail him.
Right.
Of course, the deal that Joe Kennedy made, and some of our audience that heard this, when he approached Costello, you help my son become president, we will invade Cuba and get your casinos back. That's the only reason the mob went for the whole thing. And I was running all over the country, Kansas City, everybody, to get them to help promote it, because obviously the mob was all involved with Cuba. And then Bobby convinced John, once he became Attorney General, that there were no missiles on that island. And they called off the Bay of Pigs, which we talked about in a previous show with Jim. 2,300 guys got killed. They didn't ever send in the airstrike backing them up. The CIA is still covering that up.
Fascinating.
I came back on that Monday, met with Costello, as I always did when I went on trips with him, at 11 o'clock in the morning. And he said, what went on up there? Did they ever get the pictures? I said, no. She was screaming. He said, about what? And we were all flabbergasted, including Sinatra was the one handling this whole thing because he said he could control her. She said, I just aborted his son. I wanted a kid all my life. And she was hysterical. She said, I'm going to the press. And when I came back and told him, he said, she's dead. That Thursday, she was dead.
Maybe she died like 8 days later, I think, 7 or 8 days. Wow.
No, 5 days exactly.
Wow, wow. Let me ask you this, Johnny. Why didn't she call Joe DiMaggio from Calneva?
Good question. She did call.
Okay.
He was in San Francisco. He made the mistake of calling Sinatra. So what's going on up there? She's saying this is mind your own business and don't come here. I often wondered if he came and
Right.
took her away, if she would have had a great life, and
He
because she
did,
was about to go to Broadway, you know.
right. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, from what I've read, I think he was the only person that genuinely loved her. I
Yeah,
mean,
but see, even though I was involved with her as a close friend during that time, and they were getting back together.
yes,
Getting
yes.
back together. And the only reason she was going back to him because she felt the same way. He was jealous of her. That picture of her over the
Oh, 7 year itch.
Subway.
yeah,
7 year itch.
yeah. And he said, I mean, he just called her every name in the book and got a divorce.
They got divorced. The was it Giesler? I forget the attorney. Might have been
Yeah,
Giesler.
because he said they're exploiting you, and that was Xanax and Fox. They did not want her to become an actress. She came to New York, and Costello hit her out of the Waldorf Astoria for a year while she was studying with Strasberg. I used to go down and get her at the school at night on 15th Avenue and walk her home.
You know, and that's why I mean, my opinion, DiMaggio boycotted a lot of the stars for coming to her funeral. Of the
Oh, I
Sinatra,
know.
everybody, you know.
They all used her.
Right, right, except for him, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And he sent roses to her grave
Yeah.
every day or every week or something like that. But no, but I met Joe a couple of, I actually met Marilyn first through Joe DiMaggio at Toots Shor's. Everybody was in Toots Shor's. I was like a 14, 15-year-old kid going every day with envelopes. But I saw everybody there, Sinatra, all of them.
Oh, the store clubs, you going there?
Oh, yeah, the
Store-
Store Club. Everything around there. I mean, the Copa, the Store Club, Chili's West, El Morocco,
Jeez.
all those clubs. They were my stops.
Quarter,
And Dempsey's,
was the Latin Quarter after? The Latin Quarter?
the Latin Quarter. Yeah, it was all mobbed up, that stuff. And Dempsey's was a 24-hour restaurant diner. And I mean, that was my route. I was just on the border of the west side. Those crazy times.
I just gotta say, it just dawned on me that Gianni's going from place to place with his envelopes, right, Gianni?
Right.
And Mike, what do you do every day?
What do I do? I get sick when I think of what I do. I get
No,
queasy.
no, I just think it's amazing.
I
As
deliver
the,
mail.
the Hollywood kid, you're both dealing with envelopes. I'm like,
I deliver junk mail all day. That's all I do.
Well, I mean, the bottom
well, I
line.
know, but both dealing in envelopes all the time. That's
Right,
amazing.
I wish there was still cash. I wish there was cash in there.
No kidding.
When I was raised, though, what you're doing was what they drilled into everybody's head.
Yeah.
Get a civil service job,
Good work.
20 years, you got a pension, you
Yeah.
got hospitalization. It was the foundation of people who didn't come of means and were just hard workers. My uncles were sanitation workers.
30, 40 years ago, Johnny. I mean, you talk to someone's dad, you got a job at the post office?
Oh, no, yeah.
Wow, how'd you get, who do you know to get in there? That was a big deal.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I want our young audience to realize it's not a demeaning job. It was a great
Oh,
job to
absolutely
have.
not.
It pays
Oh,
off.
but I mean, it's
It's like anything else, Johnny. You got to put your time in. You have to put your time in.
well,
That's
and see a guy like you, now that I'm getting to know you, you're so creative, you have other things to offer. You feel you're wasting your time, and I don't even know you.
Yeah.
You're walking around for 8 hours. What am I doing here?
Booking shows.
What's
I'm
my
putting
purpose?
guests. People are, excuse me, old ladies, you got my mail, lady. I got Johnny Russo on the phone. Please, come on.
That's right.
Oh,
You're like, here's your mail. Here's your envelope. Sorry, it's not one that Gianni would have brought you, but
Eileen's cat. Here's your Macy's
oh,
cat.
mine were all, money going out,
had it.
either bets or Shylock money or whatever. But I didn't mind doing that.
I think
Heck no.
we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the passing last week of a Carl Weathers.
Oh, that's
Oh
exactly
yeah,
right.
I never knew he was an athlete first.
Yeah, he played for the Raiders. He tried. I'm not sure if he made the team.
Oh, he did make the team.
Oh, he did.
The way I heard it, he was on the team for one season or something,
Yeah.
and then somebody spotted him or something. Then he became a boxer actually in the gym.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think that's how Stallone found him.
Yeah. Great loss. Apollo Creed, you know.
Oh, that I mean that portion of the I forgot what was the name of that movie?
Rocky.
The
It's
Rocky
so funny,
one
it's so-
trilogies, or what is it called? You tell us, Mike.
What's that?
The,
There's like,
the, all the Rocky movies?
oh, 1, 2, I think there's 5. There was 5 of them or 6. It might have been 6.
Yeah,
I
but
stopped after the third
It was
one.
great.
I stopped after number 3.
not soon after he made those movies. And I mean, my hat was off to him when I heard the story because, Paramount was trying to buy that script for Jimmy Carr right after The Godfather. And I knew Stallone's mother even. And he was broke. And he
Yeah.
wrote that script. But they wanted, and they offered him a lot of money. He was broke. He turned it down. He's, I'm right. I wrote this for me. And they said, who are you going to be? And that was it. And then he made history, fortunately. And years later, a good friend of mine, Richie Palmer, who owns Mulberry Street Pizza chain in California, he came from the neighborhood here and went up there into California. So they always hung out there. You still see them. In fact, I just saw a clip where Pacino and Stallone were outside of Mulberry Street Pizza.
Yeah.
And so I saw him on the street as soon as they made the movie. And I said, Sly, I can't believe you married my ex-wife. He said, what do you mean? I said,
Oh,
you married my ex-wife. He says, what you talking about? I said, Adrian,
yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it.
I married her first.
That's right. Oh, that was so funny.
I mean, he's out there. I mean, the guy made so much money.
Yeah.
Why didn't he go to elocution lessons? Why didn't he improve himself? He's still Rocky.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
just
gosh,
wants to
didn't
be
make
Rocky.
that.
Yeah, it's funny. I had Frank Stallone would make a good guest on this show. I had him on a couple of times. He's great.
You can have him on your show. Thank you so much.
Okay. Oh, we'll pass on the
I won't even get into that.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for the kid, actually.
Yeah. He can never get out of the shadow. Never.
Oh, and now he's in their reality show. Thank God, he's traveling with them. He's with his nieces, and they have the Stallones.
Yeah. New season coming up.
His mother is a character. Their mother was a great lady. I knew her well.
She's like a what do you call it? Not a hypnotist. He read the palms there. She was a palm reader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I think this is a show. I'm hoping all of you who are listening to the show, we need more mailbag.
That's
obviously.
right.
Yes.
We want more input by you all. And if you both can give them how to do that. I think we have 2 email now addresses, isn't there?
Yeah,
You can go to the HollywoodGodfatherPodcast.com, and there's a spot on there where you can drop down and you can address it to all of us or just myself, Mike, or Gianni. Just go on to that. You can find that if you click on our podcast, you can see it in the show notes. And then we've got it, it's just all over the place. We're also on Instagram and on Facebook. So please join us there. Come be friends with us. We're looking forward to meeting all of the friends you're going to bring along, Mike. And we are looking forward to just growing this show as we go. And yes, that mailbag is always available. So please definitely.
We do a show once a month, so we'll definitely be reading your stuff.
And it's anything if you want to see somebody in the show, you want a subject, a topic, anything. You want to ask one of us a question about something, our backgrounds, absolutely. Yeah, drop it in the mailbag, guys. HollywoodGodfatherPodcast.com, Instagram, they're on there. You can get it anywhere nowadays.
And Real Talk with the Hollywood Kid, correct?
Talk with the Hollywood Kid. Go subscribe. REEL, Real Talk with the Hollywood Kid. There's a ton of content on there, and so I thank you guys for having me.
Oh, and we thank you out there. Stay tuned. Tell your friends, and we'll see you next week. God bless you all.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
lived a life with no restraints. The little kid they all counted out proved them all wrong, that's without a doubt. Laying there with my left side numb, 5-year bout with polio, but yes, I won. From standing on corners like how many pens you want to living in a bakery, then opening my own restaurant. Of course, I had some help along the way, friends like Frank Costello that I miss each and every day. Things from many years ago still resonate.